And we're live at the Virtual Real Estate Investing Podcast. I am John Plumstead here with my business partner, Frank Scapatisi. How you doing today, Frank?
What's up, baby? Doing good. Pumped. We got our man Stu on the call or on the podcast. I'm really excited.
Yeah, me too. I know you've got a relationship with Stu. I think we're Facebook friends, and I follow him in a couple different groups. So I know a little bit about him, but I'm excited to learn more from him today.
Well, if we're Facebook friends, then I mean that automatically means we're just like we're boys, right?
Right. It's official.
Official.
I actually, Stu, you don't know this, but internally in our company, I posted a video about something you shared on social media 2 weeks ago. We're gonna get into it, I think, later.
Cool.
But for anyone watching, if you're not following Stu's social media postings, I think it's a lot of value add. So happy to have you on, and I appreciate it.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Yeah.
So I'm gonna come in with the first question, kicking us off, and we talk business first, and then we talk about the fun stuff at the end. That's how we do it on our podcast.
Okay, sounds good.
But just tell us what's Storehouse? What do you guy do?
Yeah, Storehouse Ventures. We are technically a turnkey company, and we are based out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. David Gutierrez is my business partner. We are both active duty Navy. So don't hate too much against us, but we're both active duty Navy, been in 18 and a half years, getting close to that retirement. And we started this real estate business on the side. It's been going for about 3 years. And essentially a turnkey company is, we're buying houses that need a lot of work. We buy them with cash. We fix them up, put renters in place, turn it over to property management, and then sell them as completely rehabbed renters, property management in place. Solely to other investors that are wanting to buy turnkey, real estate.
Excellent. So amazing we have a turnkey provider, because we've been called wholesalers, which I'm fine being called a wholesaler. But if we think of being called a wholesaler and being called a turnkey provider, in some circles, we might be the redheaded stepchildren of real estate investing. So can you explain what a turnkey provider is, and kind of some of the goods and bads and maybe misconceived notions?
Yeah, man. So turnkey can get it has a bad name in some circles, but we've tried to change that, and rightfully so. There are quite a few companies that deserve that bad name because of some of the business practices that they've done. But essentially, the idea of a turnkey is you are basically buying the end product with a team to back it up, to help you in case something goes wrong. And that's kind of the piece at the end there that a lot of turnkey providers don't really offer, is that it's really a service business. It's really a customer service business. So we're buying these houses that need a lot of work. They are in disrepair. And so we're going in, we're rehabbing these houses. We're putting $20,000, $30,000 into them, fixing everything up, making them really nice, and then turn them over to property management. And then renters are placed. And then that package, so to speak, is then sold to an investor who wants to be really kind of more of a passive investor. And I'll say passive with a little hesitancy, because nothing is completely passive. You still have to kind of manage the manager. But for the most part, you're not getting in the nitty gritty, like rehabbing, managing contractors, dealing with all that kind of stuff. You're basically buying the end product that's rehabbed. Renter is already in place, should be cash flowing from day one with management in place. And then you have the team to back it up to help you with resources, contacts, and anything that goes wrong along the way, because it's real estate and things will go wrong at some point, I promise you. So, but yeah, the turnkey model is, there's a lot of different types of turnkey out there, and some good ones and some not so good ones.
You mentioned it's a customer service based business, or that's the big priority. Can you take us through from the client's perspective? So the buyer or the customer, they log into your website, they see something they like, it's your typical Milwaukee turnkey property that you guys, I'm sure you have a buy box. I'm sure a lot of the properties are very similar. Yeah. What returns are they looking at? And then what is the process once they click go or click submit? A to B?
It's changed throughout the years. A couple of years ago, you would hit go and talk to us and say, I want to buy a property, and we could immediately offer a property to you. That has since changed, because we the word has spread about our company and who we are, and that's a good thing. But at the same time, we're kind of running into a problem now where we can't provide enough properties to be able to meet the demand. So now we have a waiting list. We have, gosh, probably a 1.5 to 2 year waiting list right now, and it's continuing to grow. And we're trying to figure out how to change that. But right now, if you're going to call us, we're going to have a conversation. You'll probably talk to David or myself about just who we are and kind of what we stand for and the process involved with that. And then we'll put your name on a waiting list. When that name comes up on the waiting list, we'll contact you as an investor and say, hey, this is the next house that's available. Take a look at it. It's almost done with the rehab process. It'll be ready for you to put under contract and take a look at it. We'll give them some due diligence period, let them take a look at it, ask any questions, review everything, and then if they like it, then we'll put it under contract to sell it. That's typically right at the end of our rehab, and so that's in the process of turning over to property management. They're starting to advertise it, and hopefully the goal is to have the buyer close on it after there's a renter or at least a lease in place. And management in place. So they're basically buying it, renter already done, and they're going to get, day one, first month of rent, cash flowing for them when they close.
And the buyer's allowed to do conventional financing? Like, do you guys facilitate the loans at all, or is that just the buyer and their lender?
Yeah, just a buyer and a lender. I mean, we have recommended lenders that we work with a lot. But they could really use any lender that they want to use as long as they're licensed in Wisconsin to do loans there. Yeah, and that's what we recommend. We recommend using conventional, 30-year fixed rate financing. I mean, the rates right now are unbelievable. Like, you got to take advantage of the low mortgage rates. So, yeah, I mean, every property's getting appraised, going through the normal loan process for the most part. I'd say 98% of the people that are buying are just using 30-year conventional.
Nice. And then I'd like to talk a little bit from your perspective, from a turnkey provider's perspective, just on the numbers, right? If as a wholesaler, we're looking to kind of buy 70% minus rehab, probably sell around 75% minus rehab. If we decide to flip that property, we try to buy at about the same 70% minus rehab, and then we're going to try to sell at market value often, but we'll say 8 to 10% kind of transaction costs. But for some reason you decided, hey, we're going to go with the turnkey provider model. I'd love to hear kind of how you guys look at those numbers from a broad stroke.
Yeah, so on the buying side, when we are buying, similar numbers, we're looking for 70 to 75% ARV all in, purchase plus all the rehab costs, all in at 70, 75% of after repair value. We're going to go in and we're going to rehab it and make it nice again. And then we will typically sell that at about after repair value. Sometimes we run a lot of the numbers based off of what the rents are going to be, and to make sure that there's going to be a cash on cash return for the end investor in mind. For us, that rule is at a minimum of a 10% cash on cash return for that end buyer. And we just use like the Bigger Pockets rental analysis tool. And we plug in kind of standard numbers that you'll see in the industry, but we're using 8% for property management fees, because that's the property management fees that our property manager uses. 5% for vacancy, 7% for vacancy, 5% for maintenance, 5% for CapEx savings, and then insurance. We get a quote from our insurance broker, and then property taxes we just get off of the property tax website. So all of those are included, and the minimum is 10%. Typically, you're seeing a lot more than that. And we run a 30-year fixed rate financing we run it at 4.5%, which is super conservative right now, but we'd rather be way conservative than going underneath that. And so, typically you're getting 12, 15, sometimes even more realistic cash on cash return for those properties.
Nice. And then are you and the buyer saving agent fees then, or are agents involved sometimes?
So we have in-house our own agent. And so she takes care of everything on both sides of the equation for us on the buying side. And then on the selling side too, that the buyer is not paying any fees to use our agent.
Excellent.
Yeah. But yeah, I would say that that's one of the things that that a lot of people like kind of talk bad about turnkey providers is you don't get any equity in the deal. And sometimes that's true and sometimes that's not. I mean, we've had quite a few properties that, we are selling for what we thought was ARV based off of comps, but then it comes in like 10, 15, and we've had some like $20,000 appraisals above what people are buying them for. And that's just a win for our investor. Like, that's awesome. We're like super stoked for them. We've had very, very few, knock on wood, that haven't appraised. So, but this is more of a cash flow play. It's a Midwest market. There's not a ton of appreciation, kind of standard 3 to 5% appreciation. And this is a long-term buy and hold play, looking for cash flow, not really much appreciation there.
I love how transparent and honest that assessment is. I think that's a great summary of why someone chooses that investment, right? If you're kind of saying, like, if you're chasing like the 80% returns or 100% annual returns, like, yeah, go flip houses, man. But if you want a ready-made solution that's beating the average stock market returns, maybe not the 2020 NASDAQ, but if you want the average return being beat like that, you call Stu, right?
Yeah.
You mentioned finding deals, right? You actually said before your wait list is 1.5 years long. How are you guys finding deals now? And how are you guys trying to crack that nut going into the rest of 2021?
And how can we partner up?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that too, right?
Well, you guys need to move into Milwaukee. No, I've talked to Frank about it already. It's a challenge, man. I mean, just where we are in the market cycle, like the supply versus demand is ridiculous. There's just not a whole lot of supply out there. So we're scraping. We're trying to find any way possible to get deals. I mean, we're scouring the MLS daily, trying to find and jumping on stuff that hits like day of, trying to make offers competitive. We can typically close really, really fast. So that's kind of a competitive, thing that we bring to the table if they're MLS deals. And then we work with a ton of wholesalers. We have great relationships with the local wholesalers in that market. Not many of them are virtual wholesalers, but maybe we can change that coming down the road. But yeah, most of the people that are local there, we make great relationships with them. A lot of times they'll send stuff to us first because they know what our buy box is and they know that we'll close, and that's super important. And just recently we've started to do a little bit of dabbling into trying to do some direct marketing ourselves. We've started to do some text messages campaigns, buying some lists off of like ListSource and doing some SMS text messaging. A couple other websites that we've kind of gotten on that will send us leads as well for off-market deals. So we're kind of starting to get into that realm a little bit more.
Nice. Can you talk a little bit about how your business is structured? Specifically, you said you had a partner. We've got a partnership here, and Frank and I love each other, but there can definitely be ups and downs in partnerships. So I'd love to hear your perspective.
Yeah, man. So my business partner is David Gutierrez. We were roommates at the Naval Academy for all 4 years. We're like yin and yang, like completely opposites as far as just personalities go, which actually is perfect for a business relationship. I mean, we've been like best friends. He was my best man at my wedding. We've been stationed together at times. He like held my daughter at my daughter's birth, just always been before even business was in the picture. We've always been best friends, and so that's been a lot of fun, but also can be a challenge because when money starts getting involved and business decisions start getting involved, we had to take a hard look at and have some like pretty serious conversations before we even started the business about, our friendship, our family will always come first. Business decisions, money decisions are always second fiddle to those decisions. And we talk about that a lot. We made sure that we had a vision for our business and really the why behind our business moving forward. And so, there was definitely some difficult conversations at first, but from a personality standpoint, he was like an English major, very like he's the visionary, right? And I'm like the engineer, like doing like the the calculations and the spreadsheets and kind of the running the numbers. And so I'm kind of the integrator. And that works perfect. Like he's a hugger. He loves to be on the phone and having conversations and making, networking. and stuff like that. And I'm more behind the scenes, like, making sure the systems and the processes and all that our stuff are in place. So it really works out perfectly for our business. Same goes with like, he's kind of like really good at talking to people about operations and when there's like a difficult situation, and he's very aggressive with having those hard conversations, where I'm kind of a pushover, and I like would just allow things to slide. And so like we know that about each other, and we've kind of taken all of like the personality tests, and so we kind of know where our roles sit, and it just really works out well. So I would say if you're looking for partners, make sure you know how those personalities align, and make sure that like you're not the same person, because it's not going to work.
Give me your reaction to this quote from a book. Book said, "Visionaries, be relaxed. Integrators, thou be stressed." Do you find that to be true in your business?
Totally, man. I'm like, yeah, I'm always like, making sure we're checking off boxes, and just like always, trying to run things to ground, and making sure we have all the systems and the processes aligned, and running the numbers. And then he's kind of in the background, just like making sure it's all, and then he'll like come up with some like random, ridiculous, big 30,000 foot view idea. I'm like, no, dude, that's stupid. And, then I'll like have to talk him down off the ledge. And so he's always come up with big ideas, but that's great because some of them stick.
Excellent. Let's talk about scale a little bit. That's something Frank and I have thought about, right? Because you're like, I want to do a deal. Then you do a deal. You're like, now I want to do 2 deals, right? And then it's like, well, if I can just get to 10 deals or 50 deals or whatever, no matter what size business you are, it's always like, well, if this worked, what if we doubled it or tripled it? And I believe in living the best life we can, but I'm also a competitive person and want to have an amazing business. So we're still trying to figure out what the appropriate scale is for our business. But how do you think through that, Stu?
It's tough, man. We're actually going through that ourselves right now. And we're having some hard conversations and kind of some deep thoughts on where we want to be with our businesses, and where we want to, do we want to be working in the business, or do we want to be working on the business, right? We've talked a lot. I mean, because we have a problem right now. We can't fill the demand for people that want to buy houses from us. So there's a lot of pressure there to scale. We've talked a lot about moving into other markets, trying to build teams in other locations, and to us right now, with our full-time active duty military jobs, to be brutally honest, we're at a capacity. We don't have the capacity to scale right now, more than what we can right now. So right now, what we're trying to do is really perfect our team, perfect our systems, perfect our processes. So that way, if we do want to scale in the future, we can, and we can kind of copy and paste into another market. But at the same time, you have to kind of think about what's most important to you, the lifestyle and where you want to be, versus just hustling and grinding all the time. So there's a few things that you really have to consider. If you're going to scale and grow, you have to put more people on the team. And, you're going to, if you don't want to be in the daily grind, you're going to have to find someone like a COO who does. You're going to have to hire that, and you're going to have to pay for that. And so you have to kind of figure out how that works. Or do you want to just kind of stay where you are, just keep on doing deals, and have, kind of a better lifestyle? And David and I are struggling with that right now. We're kind of, we don't really know which direction to go, because we're really at that point where we either need to grow and scale and do more deals, or just kind of stay where we are and decide to kind of be more of a lifestyle business. So it's really hard.
Yeah. And there's an important decision underlying what you just said. It's, do we go to a new market, or do you want to just dominate Milwaukee? Right.
Yeah.
Can you take us through that decision? Right. There's pros and cons, or difficulties and challenges with either, but what are your thoughts there?
Yeah. I mean, so far we've just decided to dominate Milwaukee, because, there's, for us, I think, we've recently kind of tried to decide that, we have a core team, and we love our team, and we're proud of our team. We want to grow that team individually and personally, and just be really good at that. Right. Because as soon as you start trying to be like what's the phrase? Jack of all trades, master of none kind of deal. Like you can fail pretty quickly and you can grow too fast, and that's a detriment to a business. And so that's kind of where we are right now is we just really want to get really good at one location, one subject. And you can make a lot of mistakes if you're trying to like get into all kinds of different things. And it's hard because you can see a lot of shiny objects and get off target. But that's what we're doing right now.
Nice. And then for your buyer, what does your typical buyer look like? And the reason I asked that is we started off and 100% of our buyers were local flippers mostly, right? And then I would say over time, we're probably like 25 to 50% of our buyers are now virtual investors. Hence the title of our podcast, Virtual Real Estate Investing. Our thesis is that we can get a lot of virtual investors to invest in some of these markets. But as you look at your typical buyer in Milwaukee, are they local or are they from all over?
They're not, man. I would say 98% are not local. And I'd say probably 80% of the not local are military veterans. They're people within our own network. They're people that busy professionals, just like all of us are, that in the military, we're moving every 2 to 3 years. A lot of times we're living in expensive locations where they might not make sense to own rental property.
I'm gonna cut you off there. That's only if you're in the Navy, right? Okay, so you guys go live somewhere, you got an ocean out in front of your house, you got all this. Me and Plum were stationed in Fort Sill. I've lived in Columbus, Georgia.
Great cash flow markets.
They are great cash flow markets.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's a good spin.
Yeah. So I'll take that back. So most of our buyers are Navy and Marine Corps veterans and active duty people. We do get some Army every now and then and a few Air Force, but so I would say most people that are buying from us are just people within our network and people that have been referred to us from other buyers that have worked with us in the past and said good things about us or busy professionals, people that have full W-2 employment that have good paying salaries, but they just don't have time to go do real estate themselves, but they still want to invest into something different outside of the stock market, physical assets where they can grow their portfolio. And so that's kind of our target buyer.
I love it. I think you're hitting on a topic that we talk about a lot. The long distance or virtual investor has to know what they can be good at, right? A turnkey provider, that choice is saying, hey, I'm not going to be the best flipper in Milwaukee, right? Yeah. So I'm going to lean on Stu. We have almost the same attitude with our flips that we buy. We look at it like we're the best at arbitraging price, or we think we're the best, right? Like everyone thinks they're the best. Yeah. We're winning on price, right? But we also acknowledge we're not the best flippers or rehabbers of a home either, right? Because we're virtual. We do everything long distance. So I think it's important for people who are investing out of state, like don't forget that, right? The 60K rehab that has a serious foundation risk, like maybe you pass that off to somebody else, But if someone was deciding, I guess, between doing a burr, right, in Milwaukee or going to Stu, and they're a client, what would you tell them? What are the risks versus each approach, and why would they choose Stu over another option?
Yeah. So and I've learned this the hard way, unfortunately. I think that real estate is a team sport. It really is. And the sooner you realize that, the better off you're going to be, because there are just things that you can't do well. You can do it, but you're just not going to do it well. And you're not going to have really good success if you're trying to do everything yourself. So you got to find people and you got to build a team that's going to support you and help you along the way. So you can really do two things. Like you can build your own team, which is going to take a lot of trial and tribulations and probably some failures and some hard lessons learned along the way. You can get it done, but that 60K rehab might be the one where you're going to fail tremendously and it's going to hurt. Or you can go with a team that's already been established, it's already proven themselves, that already has been through those failures, because we have, and go that direction. And so it's really a matter of time, how much you want to put into it, and how much risk you want to take, as far as, whether you want to go at it yourself and take those lessons and learn along the way, or be more of like a passive type investor. But the biggest thing is you got to build a team. You have to have a team in place. You cannot do it yourself.
Nice. I want to ask you about having high character. Okay. I think there's some amazing people in real estate investing, but there's also potentially some people that aren't amazing. Okay. I gave a class the other day about how to hire virtual assistants, and I spent half the class talking about leadership. And I feel like the people I was talking to were like, "Why are you talking about leadership? That doesn't matter at all." I'm like, hiring virtual assistants starts with treating them with respect and valuing them and empowering them, right? So I would love for you to talk about leadership and also just how you try to run a company with high character.
Yeah, I mean, that's incredibly important to us. It's a big part of our core values, and I think that in itself, understanding the core values of people that you're going to be working with is huge. And again, made a lot of mistakes along the way and learned that the hard way. And we still, have some issues that come up with people that we're working with that don't necessarily have the same core values that we do. But trying to understand those core values ahead of time and really getting that up front is super important, because there will be challenges along the way. And, if people on your team or people that you're working with don't have those same core values, it's going to be really, really hard to deal with that. Honesty and integrity, super important to us. We will always make the decision to do what's right for our investor or for the individual that's working with us over our bottom line. We've had deals go bad before. We've lost money on deals, but at the end of the day, your integrity and your character is way more important than that one deal and losing some money in one deal. For us, our business is fully on relationships and not transactional. Like, we don't plan on doing one deal with a buyer. We don't plan on doing one deal with a wholesaler. We plan on doing 10 deals, 20 deals. We want them to be private lenders and then buyers, and then jump with us on a syndication in 5 years and grow them along the way too. So this is completely about relationship building, not about making a whole lot of money. So it's super important when it comes time to trying to figure out who that person is from a core values perspective. So yeah, that's we look at it a lot. We do like a disc profile, for people that we're working with, like that are going to be on our team, trying to figure out what they stand, ask them what their core values are. We make them fill out like what their why is. We follow this book called Traction. It's EOS operating system, Entrepreneur Operating System. We ask them to do like their own VTO, where they're laying out their vision, their why, their 1 year, 3 year, 10-year plans, because we want to make sure that we're a fit for them, just like they are for us. So yeah, all that is super, super important.
So how is that built into your culture now, right? Because as a young company, we talked about our values from day one, and we wanted to make it a point to give back. So our first quarter, we made money. We made a big donation to charity, just because even though we were a young company that we didn't really even know if we were going to survive, we were like, from the get-go, we want this to be part of the fabric of our company. So bringing people in with a DISC profile and talking about values and integrity right off the bat, how has that helped your business?
Yeah, man, it's been huge for us. I mean, because you get people that are on your team that see your vision and they have buy-in. They want to be a part of it. They want to grow with you and not just be an employee, but they want to be a team member. They want to be in there and growing this vision that you have. And so like you laying that out ahead of time and telling them what your why is and, showing them your 10-year goals of where you want to be, like that gets people excited about working with you. So I think that's like super important to do as you're starting a business. And then you got to just follow on your word. For us, our company is, just similar to what you guys are. We're all about giving and serving. Storehouse 310 comes from Malachi 3:10 in the Bible. It's given a tithe to the storehouse of 10% of our profits go immediately. It's the first first thing that goes every single time we sell a house. And it's like, that's our word. Like, it's going to happen regardless of, where we sit with the business. If we're losing money, making money, it doesn't matter. That first 10% is always going to go, and we just stick by it. And so like when we tell somebody we're going to replace a roof, if we have, we tell them we're going to have a 10-year lifespan on something and it breaks in year one, we're going to fix it, and it's going to suck for us, but it's going to cost us money, but we're going to go and do that because that's what we told you we were going to do. So, all that's super important, man.
That's awesome. That's also probably, I would guess, extremely uncommon in the turnkey provider space. So I might have a limiting belief here. And we touched on this earlier, but we didn't finish the thought. But we talked about earlier, because all of our markets are rental markets, or almost all of them are, that there would be temptation along the way to start a turnkey provider business for Grayline. And I've always said, I'm like, man, I really feel like turnkey providers, as they get bigger and bigger and bigger, they really struggle to maintain quality or customer service, because the model almost leads you in the direction of pumping and dumping properties, And one, like, am I wrong? And then like two, like, how do you combat that on a transaction, like in a business level on the day-to-day?
Yeah, it's hard, man. There are definitely times where David and I tell ourselves, like, we don't want to be in that customer service business, because sometimes it sucks. Like, I'll be brutally honest. Like, people are calling me, right? Calling David, like, hey, you got, like, we have tenant issues. I can't help that. I'm sorry, but the bottom line is, yeah, we're going to help you out because we have the team and the resources that are going to back you up. And yeah, as you grow, that's grow and scale. That's something that you really have to think about. You almost have to have like a full department that's dedicated to being like kind of the customer service department. We're not there yet. Right now it's David and myself kind of answering phone calls, emails, and a few of our team members are doing the same. And that's something to definitely consider, because as a part of growing and scaling, what's important to us is keeping that standard that, on our rehabs, on our communications. So as you grow and scale, you're going to have to add more team members that are going to be dedicated to making sure that doesn't slip. And there are a lot of companies that do slip. That's a challenge for sure.
Yeah, so it's an awesome answer. To put it simply, it's like, well, if it's important to you, you hire for it and you pay for it.
Yep.
Right.
Absolutely, man. Yep, absolutely. You got to maintain that standard, and you have to put time and money in place to make sure that standard doesn't slip.
I see. You mentioned EOS and the book Traction. Frank and I are big fans of both of those. I've been kind of nerding out on Reid Hoffman's Masters of Scale podcast lately, as Frank and I struggle with scale questions. Where else are you looking for information? How have you learned what you know, and where are you going now to learn?
Yeah, so I try to surround myself with people that are doing bigger and better things than myself. We have a mastermind group that I'm a part of. I'm a part of two mastermind groups. One's a pretty high level, pretty expensive mastermind group that I'm a part of. That there's a lot of people doing, hundreds, 200 deals a year, flipping houses, and so I lean on a lot of people in that group that can help us. So I'm always just trying to put myself around people that are doing bigger and better deals than myself, and trying to lean on them for advice and expertise.
And Plum alluded to knowledge. What books are you reading?
Right now, I'm reading Legacy, about the All Blacks New Zealand rugby team. It's kind of more of a leadership book. Really good. One I just got finished with that was awesome was The Road Less Stupid by Keith Cunningham. Really, really good book. And I've started to employ a lot of the ideas that he has just about, he calls it thinking time. I do it every morning now for the most part. Basically just put everything away, get out a notebook and a pen, and just ask yourself a question. And a lot of times it's related to business, and then just brainstorm and just like really think, like put everything away and just think about, your business, what you could be doing, what you could be implementing. And you'll be amazed at like what your brain can produce in 30 minutes of time with no distractions. So highly recommended book, Road Less Stupid.
Yeah, that's like the book Deep Work.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the same principle.
Cal Newman. Yep.
Yeah, I think Plum had told. I know you used to do this, Plum. You used to like take a piece of paper out and draw the business on a piece of paper for like an hour or something. Like that was like his. I guess putting that into practice. I remember that. It's pretty cool.
I'm super simple. I'm like, if I tell people I grew up a football player, so if I can't put it on a whiteboard with X's and O's, it just doesn't make sense to me, right? And
Yeah.
maybe I'm not that much of a meathead, or maybe I am, but I just really believe in, to understand something, you have to make it super, super simple.
Yeah, man, for sure. Yeah. I'm a visual guy, so I like to draw out, write stuff. I take a lot of notes, and yep, super important.
You mentioned before not chasing the shiny object. And I think Frank's good at that. I'm not good at that. I love chasing shiny objects, and it gets me in trouble, but hopefully Frank and I can balance each other out. As you think of potentially, dominating Milwaukee, doing really well in Milwaukee, you can look at potentially other areas to monetize, right? You could look at lending. You could look at, just brainstorming. There's tons of other revenue streams. Have you guys looked at that? Is that something you want to do? Or are you making a conscious decision like, nope, let's, as you said before, let's just focus on what we're good at?
Yeah, we have, man. We've talked a lot about different streams of income. I think it's smart to be thinking about that. And, I think I probably talked a lot about, I probably came off in a negative light of growing and scaling, but there's always going to be growth. There's always going to be opportunities to get better, to get bigger. So we're absolutely doing that. Right now, what we've really seen is, we've somewhat created a brand for ourselves, and that brand, there's tons of opportunities to take a brand and to do other things besides just single family turnkey rentals in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We joined another team this year or last year, and we syndicated a mobile home park in Colorado. We pretty much brought the network. We raised some money, and we went and bought, a mobile home park. And so we're really excited about that. We're really excited about the opportunities because we raise money on pretty much every single family house. We're bringing private lenders in. We're using private money to go buy and fix these houses up. Well, we can take those same private lenders that have now we've gained trust with, and pool money and go do bigger deals. And so we're absolutely looking at that. Like I said, we've already done the one deal. We're looking at more opportunities right now. We're throwing out ideas of maybe doing like the fund of funds model, where we pool money and then go be like a limited partner in another operator's deal. So yeah, we're looking at all kinds of things. We're putting properties into our own portfolio to kind of build that up as well. And so yeah, we're absolutely looking for other stuff.
That's a good, interesting point. We didn't touch on funding at all. You mentioned private lending. Are you raising funds asset to asset? Like
yeah, we are. Yeah, we're putting one private lender on one property. Primarily, we have lenders that will fund the entire rehab and purchase. Others will just do like the rehab, and either David or myself will lend money personally to cover the rest, or we'll put like a second position note on it to cover the rehab. So yeah, we raised probably $3-4 million last year. We did almost 50 houses last year, so we're raising a lot of money, but they're all like on individual deals instead of pooling it all together. So think about the power of pooling that money together and doing a bigger multifamily deal or a commercial deal, something like that. So yeah, we're looking into that.
I think you understate how awesome your company is. Like, I feel like you talk about doing 50 houses, like you're like, oh, it's nothing. We haven't even scaled yet. We just did 50 houses sleeping. It's like, it's kind of funny I talk about it, but that's actually a lot of hustle. Like raising money for 50 houses, asset to asset, it's a lot. That's no joke, right? That's a lot of work.
It is.
Are you guys ever tempted to change your funding model?
We've looked into it. Yeah, we've talked to some folks, some equity companies that potentially could do like a line of credit for us. We've reached out to some banks. Right now, everything we've looked at is either too much of a pain in the ass or too much money, trying to charge too much. So we'll get there. I think we might just internally do it ourselves, create that fund ourselves and just fund our own deals. But we'll see. Yeah.
Love it.
So I think you said you're 18 years in, so getting close to retirement at some point out of the military. I'm beginning to get almost on a daily basis, hey, John, should I get out of the Army or should I stay in the Army? Right. And there's a philosophical component to answering that question, right? Like, what brings you joy? What are your goals in life? But how are you answering that question? Because I'm sure you're getting it a bunch too. And not that we need to solve it, for the end of time, but how do you think through that? And I imagine there were times in your career where you were making plenty of money, or at least, felt like you could make plenty of money outside the military, but you've chosen to stay in.
Yeah. It's a daily challenge, man. As I get closer to retirement, it's even more of a challenge. I've loved being in the military. To be really honest, I love the leadership aspect of it. I love the people aspect of it. And from everything that I hear of people that have gotten out, that's the part that they miss the most, right? The camaraderie. You have very like-minded people that have a mission, that are passionate about serving their country. And so that I will always be proud that that's been the case. I am excited about our company, our business, our real estate, the opportunities that it brings. I'm starting to see more opportunities come our way as we've grown our own success along the way. And now I'm at a point where I'm about ready to take a step out of the military and jump onto the next chapter of my life. So I was a pilot. I enjoyed flying. I enjoyed leading. I enjoyed the people aspect of everything that I've been a part of in the military. And I think I will miss it when I get out. So for me, like, the decision to stay in has really been that, the leadership, the giving, the serving, and that camaraderie and the people part of the business. The bureaucracy and the red tape and all that kind of stuff that comes with it. I can leave that behind, and I'll be ready for that to be behind me. But I think a big part of the decision process also is what have you built as a part of the transition. A lot of people will leave the military and have nothing, and they immediately miss that camaraderie. They miss the people, and they can go into a funk pretty quickly. And that's where a lot of times you'll see, suicide rates. A lot of the reasons why we have so much veteran suicide is because of that. So I would say, just like, what you guys are doing, you're building this business, you're building this platform. It doesn't have to be a business, but like, do something that you have a passion for, that you have something that's going to drive you along the way before you get out. So that's kind of been, for me, the steps, decision making for that. Does that answer your question? I mean, it's a hard decision.
Yeah, no, I've felt a lot of the same, like a huge amount of pride day to day. I love it. But I love doing real estate deals too. Right. Yeah. So it's one of those things that I've gone back and forth with on. And, I think a lot of people that ask me the question want how I would look at the math, and then, try to tell them, like, hey, the math is part of it. But it's a lot bigger question than just the numbers.
Yeah, for sure, man. For me, also a big decision for me is my family. So I had kids fairly late. And I think if I'd have had kids earlier on in life, it probably would have been a little bit different of a decision-making tree. I want to be home with my kids as much as I possibly can. I want to be a part of their lives. I want to be going to everything that they possibly, are involved in. And so, if I still had 10 years in the military where I knew I was going to be deploying for a year, gone all the time, regardless of like the monetary side of things, it could have changed my decision. But, like I said, we had kids a little bit later in life, and I went to FTS, which is kind of like AGR for you guys. So like, I knew I wasn't going to be deploying as much, and so I could kind of ride that out. in the younger years of my kids' lives. But my kids are going to be like 7 and 4 when I get out. So, prime time for me to be involved and engaged and like going to all their school activities. And I really want to be a part of that. So that was a big decision for me as too. So, family and that kind of is huge in that decision-making tree.
Yeah, that's why it's complicated, right? There's a lot of variables, right? Kids included, for sure. That's awesome. I had a light question. I didn't want to let you off the hook. You mentioned you were a pilot. What's the coolest aircraft you flew?
Yeah, so I flew helicopters for 10 years. Flew H-60, MH-60 Nighthawk. So it's kind of like y'all's Black Hawk. I love flying helicopters, and I transitioned to fly C-40s, which is like the Boeing 737. Helicopters are way more fun to fly than a big Boeing 737. I love flying helicopters, man. I chose it out of flight school. They're awesome.
Okay, I love it. That's actually really cool. You did those are some cool aircrafts. Fact or fiction? When pilots are not flying, they don't do any work.
In the Navy, that's fiction. We do a lot of work. Yeah.
Okay. So in the Army, you're implying that in the Army it's a fact.
Well, I know like the warrant officers, all those dudes do is fly. They would like rack up like thousands and thousands of an hour, and they do nothing when they're not flying, right?
Yeah. Have you ever seen?
At least that's my understanding of it.
You ever hear about that warrant officer at the uniform inspection?
No.
Me either.
Yeah. They're always flying, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. Stu, what do you do outside of real estate, outside the military, for fun?
Yeah, man. So I mean, I live in Colorado. I'm always playing outside if I can. Wintertime, I'm hitting the mountains, going snowboarding. Summertime, hiking, mountain biking, and then just playing with my kids. I got a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old, and just love spending time with them. It's a lot of fun.
Excellent. And then, how can people get in contact with you? And in that answer, I want you to tell us a little bit more about your company, because I think some of our listeners might be like, "Hey, what John and Frank are doing is kind of crazy, right? Like, I'm not going to come in with hard money loan, without an inspection. I'm not going to get a hard money loan. I really wish, they would just sell me a house that's ready to go, but that's just not our business model." So I hope we can point people in your direction, like, hey, this could be a better step for you. So please feel free to plug yourself. That's partly why we wanted to have you on here, is because we think you can meet a lot of need for some of our listeners.
Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate it. So our company, Storehouse 310 Ventures, we have a website, just storehouse310turnkey.com. And they can go there. We have all the social media channels. We have Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. So if you wanted to just look me up directly, you can just look up Stu Grazier on LinkedIn. And one plug I'd like to make is our own podcast. We have a podcast called Filling the Storehouse Podcast. It's about faith, family, and financial freedom. Not completely. We don't talk just real estate the entire time. It really is more. It's kind of a Christian business podcast, entrepreneurship, just different topics that are about faith, family, and financial freedom. So, yeah, if that sounds interesting to you, check it out.
That's great. I think that was supposed to be my last question, but after your answer, I have to ask, right? Yeah. Dave Ramsey, right? Like, if that's, if you have any Christian basis to any platform and you're in real estate, I know you get that question all the time, but Dave Ramsey, yes, no, how do you think about it?
So I give Dave Ramsey a lot of props. I kind of started my journey through Dave Ramsey. I did a lot of dumb stuff, leaving the academy. I spent a lot of money in, alcohol and cars and girls and everything else. Right. And, spent a lot of money and racked up credit card debt. And I got out of that using the Dave Ramsey and, figured out what my budget was, got to like a net worth of 0, basically. So I think Dave Ramsey is fantastic for someone to get from a whole lot of debt and being just financially stupid to like a net worth of 0. And then from after that, I think you need to kind of get rid of Dave Ramsey and then start looking into other people that are really wealthy. So I'm looking at more of like debt and how you can use money to make more money.
I've seen Plum ask that question to 3 or 4 people. That's the best answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's. I mean, in my opinion, that's a great answer.
Yeah. So I use Dave Ramsey. I teach Dave Ramsey a lot to like young sailors that are just kind of starting off on their financial journey and just trying to learn the basics and figuring out, how to save and live below their means and do a budget and understand insurance and understand a mortgage and understand all of those things that were never taught in schools. I think it's a great plan to get going on your financial journey. But once you get to a point where you understand all that and really know how to leverage people, resources, and money, then you need to kind of step out of the Dave Ramsey philosophy and go start doing bigger, better things.
Yeah, be more aggressive.
I really like baby steps 1 and 2, right? But after I get done with those first 2 baby steps, I'm ready to go, baby.
Yeah, for sure, man. I think it's important to have some emergency money in the bank account and understand a budget and that kind of stuff. But then go use leverage and do some good to build some wealth.
And give Stu a call. Let's take over Milwaukee with some Turnkey. I like it.
There you go. Yeah, man. Yeah, thanks for having me on. This was fun.
Absolutely. We'll wrap it up. Thank you so much for listening. Hit up Stu if you're interested in some of his products. Definitely highly recommend. Frank, you got any final words for us?
No, super pumped to have Stu on. Great guy, great company. I've looked at their deals, good quality. You'll hit the 10% cash on cash with confidence. So it's awesome. Thank you, Stu.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Awesome.
It's a lot of fun.
Thanks.